Well, before I just look at more AI cards I haven't seen yet, I'm gonna go look back at Ogdoadic Unending. Because when I read Egyptian Gag Scooby in the last sentence, my brain literally just stopped working for a few minutes. So I couldn't decide like whether or not like the card would be like good Ogdoadic support, or if this is just like another like AI fail. So I looked at a few Ogdoadic cards. Well, apparently the playing style is just sending their monsters to the graveyard and special summoning them afterwards. So I looked at this quickly before actually starting the stream, and to summon basically like all their big or Awadic. I've never played this deck and I likely never will. For Ogdoadics to summon their bigger monsters from the graveyard, you have to tribute monsters as cost. Yeah. Exactly what you want to be doing. Locking yourself out of reviving your own Ogdoadic monsters from the graveyard. And there are no extra deck Ogdoadic monsters in the actual game. Yeah, in fact, like, I'm reading the Wikipedia article on Ogdoadics, and it mentions they have very little, like, reliance on their extra deck. Yeah, they have, like, no in-archetype extra deck monsters. And then there's just, like, the second effect that literally just works against the deck itself. I'll still say it one more time. Egyptian Gag Scooby. Alright, let's move on to something I haven't seen before. Oops, I clicked on it twice by mistake. Trademark Ninja Stealth. Okay, he's a Link 2 you summon with 2 normal monsters. Unaffected by card effects. Each of these is affected to the hard once per turn. During your main phase, you contribute 1 monster. Then target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls, return it to the hand. Unaffected by other card effects would imply that the opponent can't really respond to this. Well, like, they could, but they wouldn't be able to like negate the effect because this thing is simply unaffected outright. Tribute 1 monster, then bounce one of your opponent's spells and traps. On a hard once per turn, this is perfectly reasonable so far. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, well, at least it can still get destroyed by battle. You can special summon 1 ninja monster from your deck, or extra deck, except trademark Ninja Stealth. It would really have to just depend on, like, what the other ninja monsters that could exist in the extra deck are. Yeah, honestly, like, that second effect would probably only realistically be as good as the ninjas that it can special summon from the deck or extra deck. Yeah, unless there's something I'm completely missing with the ninjas. Sure, this is unaffected by card effects, but yeah, the only like effect that it really has on field is just to bounce 1 spell or trap at a time on a hard once per turn. And 1800 attack, you can still pretty easily run this over in battle anyways. Yeah, 2 normal monsters. Most decks don't really have normal monsters, but then again, like, are there even like really like any like normal like ninja monsters anyways, or are they all effect monsters? Does this archetype like have any normal monsters or no? I don't even know. I don't have no idea. Well, I know there's like a lot of them. There's a lot of them here, but no idea if like no idea if any of them run like. Yeah, most of the ninjas that I've seen like to just flip themselves most of the ninjas I've seen like to just flip themselves face down, then face up again just to activate their effects. I haven't run into any, like, normal ninja monsters myself anyways yet. So I don't know what you want to be doing with this card if it's, like, supporting an archetype that doesn't really want to run normal monsters in the first place. I mean, still, like, assuming there are, like, no, like, extra deck or main deck ninja monsters will break the game, this is a fair card. I don't know what else to say. It's Seems reasonable enough, even with the unaffected by card effects, because it doesn't have, like, 3,000 or 4,000 plus attack or anything like that. Warrior with the barriers. When this card is normal summoned, you can add one field spell from your deck to your hand. Oh my. So basically, so far, what I'm reading, it's a terraforming on legs, but it takes up your normal summon. Each time a warrior-type monster is special summoned, mill 2 cards from your deck. Every single time a warrior gets special summoned, you mill 2. Interesting. I mean, if it was just the terraforming on legs, that wouldn't be too crazy. I mean, like, it would be definitely a card that would be fine at 1. Then again, like, basically any deck could just run this and get their field spell if they don't need the normal summon. Oh god, imagine if this was printed at 3, like any deck that has, like, a really good field spell. And if it doesn't need its normal summon, oh god. You get a huge consistency boost. And then there's just the potential to just mill, like, a lot of cards in your deck, because there's no once per turn on the special summoning the warrior-type monsters. I don't know, I'm a little nervous about just saying, like, you could print this card and it wouldn't just potentially break the game, like, somewhere down the road. Whether or not it takes, like, 10 or more years. I'd rather not risk it. Yeah, if my decisions actually, like, dictated what cards got into the game for real, I wouldn't want to risk it on this. Man with the plan, not as good as Warrior with the barriers. Summons this as terraforming. Damn, Warrior, back at it again with the barriers. 3 more copies of terraforming. Sky Striker support. Terraforming 2. And then there's just the potential to mill, like, so many cards from your deck. And if you can really just run that also in a deck that can basically run its graveyard as a second hand, then, well... yeah, I can see it getting broken. Someone mentioning Phantom Knights could break this card. Yeah, because they're like a deck full of warriors that just... will they banish themselves from the graveyard to activate effects, or they special summon themselves for the graveyard? Yeah, that would probably just... yeah, that would seriously buff Phantom Knights. That would probably buff Phantom Knights, like, by a lot. Even if it's not, like, a level 3 Dark Monster or anything, still. Well, I just think so. I don't know, I'd actually have to, like, I don't know, make a deck. Make a Phantom Knights deck, and then just, I don't know. Take 3 cards out, and then slot this in and see what happens. Yeah, before I can really say anything else, I'd have to try that and just see what the hell happens. Evil Swarm Thanatos. Who's a rank 6. 2 level 6 Fiend monsters. Once per turn during your standby phase, detach 1 or 2 materials from this card. Wait, where's the rest of it? Where's the rest of the effect? This thing's useless. You can print it, but you'll just be wasting perfectly good trees. You'll literally just be, like, wasting perfectly good cardboard if you print this, but... I mean, like, it's a perfectly reasonable card, just no one would ever run it. Just detach the materials for no effect. Why would you do this? Yeah, it's fair, but completely underpowered. Yeah, perfectly reasonable card that wouldn't, like, fuck up the game, but... way too underpowered. Nobody would play it. I don't know any Xyz supporter that wants it to have your material, so that's all I've got. Yeah, don't you typically want to have materials on your Xyz monsters? And also, when you detach them, you want to be getting some sort of effect from that. This is the card of all time, I agree. It's just the worst Thanatos, and Thanatos is already bad. There's probably better non-effect rank 6s to Xyz summon. A card so unbelievably broken. It's actually bonkers, like holy crap, I simply cannot fathom how insanely twisted an individual would need to be to design a card so heinously dangerous. How ignorant I was to use such a card at a YCS event. I am now wanted in 17 states. At least it works? Yes, hokey lokey pokey, it functions. It functions properly. It functions within the confines of the game, but no one would play it. You dare banish me? Which is a normal trap card. I'm just gonna close a bunch of these other tabs I have open. Yeah, I had tabs open for the Ogdoadic monsters. Yeah, there was a card that was made by the AI that looked like Ogdoadic support until you read like the second effect on the card, which stated as follows. Ogdoadic monsters cannot be tributed except for a tribute summon, which literally prevents you from using the effects of this, and this, and like one other Ogdoadic monster that you want to typically be able to revive from the graveyard. And you need to tribute monsters to special summon these from the graveyard, and then the Ogdoadic Unending card literally just doesn't let you do that. For some reason. Alright, so back to the You Dare Banish Me trap card. Discard one card, then target one of your banished fish, sea serpent, or aqua type monsters. Special summon it. During the end phase of this turn, destroy that monster. You can only activate one of these per turn. I don't know. Nothing, like, pops out as just, oh god, this card would destroy the game, or anything. Everything here makes perfect sense. You're discarding one card to special summon something back to the field for one turn. Well, granted, you can still, like, do whatever with it, but it's just, like, one monster you're summoning. Yeah, I do think this is perfectly reasonable, though. Like, there's just revive one monster from the graveyard for free in Monster Reborn. And there's also, like, an equip spell that has you discard a card to just basically resummon anything from the banish pile. Granted, this can do it at instant speed, but you're just locked into, like, fish, sea serpent, or aqua type with this card here. Well, not, like, locked into summoning that for the turn. Like, what I meant to say is you can only summon one of those three types of monsters, so you're greatly restricted in what you can summon. And you either gotta do something impactful with it the turn it hits the field, or it's gonna be gone. Honestly, does feel like a fair card. Sky Striker Ace. Rixiu. That's just Ray. I think that's just like an illustration of Ray that's like on the OCG Stories Sky Striker manga. Yeah, that's just Sky Striker Ray. Warrior effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned with the effect of a Sky Striker card. Except I have yet to encounter a Sky Striker card that special summons main deck Sky Striker monsters. Like, I'm pretty sure those don't actually exist. So you have to basically cheat this out with some niche card to even be able to play it. As far as I know. I'm pretty sure, like, Sky Strikers don't have, like, ways to special summon main deck monsters. Well, I guess except for, like, Ray and Rose, maybe. Well, like, no effect is gonna specifically special summon this. Once per turn, you contribute one monster. Send one Sky Striker monster or one non-wind monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And if you do, draw one card. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Sky Striker card in your graveyard this turn. So does it only count the cards that hit your graveyard the turn you use the effect, or what's going on? I don't know, like, how or if you can easily summon this. I want to see if, like, people in the comments had figured it out. As if Hayate wasn't annoying enough. ignoring the fact you can't summon it. What is it with the AI and giving Sky Strikers draws? They recently already got their second copy of Engage back, so I think they'll be fine. I love how the Foolish effect just says, fuck you to win monsters for no reason. Yeah, people are saying you literally can't summon it, and... yeah, tribute one monster, like send one... any non-win monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, so basically just tribute. You could tribute this to just basically Foolish Burial. Something that's not a win monster, but... yeah, that still covers just about nearly, like, everything in the game. That just still, like, covers so much ground, just only, like, being excluded from, like, Foolish Burialing a win monster, and then drawing one card on top of that. And not to mention, like, Sky Strikers tend to get, like, a lot of cards in their graveyard over the course of a long game. They tend to play a grind game, and... yeah, this would be a really, like, stupidly good way to just burn the opponent to death. So... well, you can't, like... you can't summon it by normal means. Like, the Sky Striker effect that summons this does not exist. Yet, I guess. Oh, I got a 2-for-1 here. Defense Zone. Field spell card. If Defense Draw Girl is on the field... where's Defense... that's the other card. Defense Draw Girl's the other card. If she's on the field, each player reveals one monster. From where? Their hand? Their deck? We just reveal a monster from where? If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, each player reveals their monster and points at one of them. Reveals what monster, and we point! We have to point at somebody's monster. Which is literally like you extend your hand out like this with your pointing finger, and then you point your pointing finger at somebody's monster. For what? But why? When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, each player reveals their monster and points one monster at one of points one monster at one of them. I don't know. This doesn't make sense. So, like, if you point your monster at one other monster, like, do you basically just, instead of using, like, your pointing finger to point at something, like, you use, like, a Yu-Gi-Oh card, you basically point at something with a Yu-Gi-Oh card? Like, I just hold this between my finger and my thumb, and then I just point, like, I just gesture my hand towards, like, another monster card, like, on the field or something? Like, is that what we're supposed to do? But why? So the field spell does absolutely nothing, apparently. So yes, so the field spell does nothing, and the girl is not a monster, she's a spell card. When you activate this card, you can discard one card as cost to draw 2 cards. So you basically get to just go hand neutral, and there's no once per turn on this, so... assuming you don't hit like an Ash Blossom or something like that, assuming that's not played against you. Just, I don't know, play this, discard a card you don't want in your hand, then draw 2 cards, basically stay hand neutral. Literally any deck that would want to play this would play this. No. And this card is just way too good for something that's this damn generic. Yeah, this thing is super generic, and on top of that, just... it's, like, still, like, strictly worse than Pot of Greed. And still. But then again, like, if you just drop, like, 3 of these, I don't know. These cards will just stay stuck on your field. I don't know, unless maybe you're also, like, playing a deck that can just easily return cards from your field to the hand. Then things will get even more silly. Yeah, also, I don't know, if you just play monsters, or any sort of card, really, to just bounce your own cards. If you can just bounce your own background, that would just get even stupider. Yeah, just find a way to, I don't know, put Defense Draw Girl back into your hand to literally just activate her again. To, again, just continue, like, looting through your deck. So yeah, the field spell does nothing, and the continuous spell is just... does way too much. Especially in a deck that could really just make it work. Stardust Cross Dragon. We got a level 7 Dragon Synchro. One tuner, one or more non-tuner monsters. Once per turn during your main phase, you can send one spell or trap card from your deck to the graveyard to special summon one level 4 or lower Dragon Synchro monster from your extra deck. How many level 4 or lower Dragon Synchro monsters even exist? If there are any. Do we even have those? I'm not even sure. I could just go on Dueling Book right now and see. Yeah, I'll go and do that. Yeah, because I can go into the deck constructor here. Once it loads, that is. And then just search by, well, search for monsters. Synchro, and then Dragon. And then this would be, like, the maximum level. Does anything even exist? Okay, but... Okay, there's this one. But then there's these two who are always treated as level 12s. For some reason, they don't have stars printed on them. I don't know why. They're not your typical synchro monsters, but they're always treated as level 12, so ignore them. There is one monster in the game that the card I was looking at can actually summon. It's this one. And the effect that happens on Synchro Summon would not even be able to resolve because the AI Stardust Cross Dragon thing is just saying special summon, not like treated as a synchro summon or anything. Unless I haven't read far enough into the card. Okay, there's nothing that's saying like it's treated as a synchro summon, so you're summoning like a 1900 attack level 4 monster with no effect, basically. If this card is sent to the graveyard to activate that monster's effect. Oh, okay, we've really just lost it here. Alright, it's over. You can shuffle one card on the field and one card in your graveyard into the deck. You can only use this once each turn. And then special summon one Dragon Synchro from your extra deck in defense position. Yeah, it was over as soon as I read the, like, first two sentences and saw, like, the one monster that actually exists. I'm just reading this one more time. Yeah, this doesn't send, like, other monsters on the field to the graveyard to activate effects. And even if, like, yeah. I mean, it's a level 7 synchro monster with 2500 attack, and it's just entirely generic, but the effect is basically just a blank. Trishula, the supreme king of all animals. I love this one already. Level 9 Earth Dinosaur. I'm not looking at a dinosaur. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at a dinosaur. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by tributing one dinosaur monster except Trishula, the supreme king of all animals. If this card is special summoned, destroy this card. If you do, banish it when it leaves the field. So it just destroys itself and banishes itself. And then there's, like, honestly no point in reading the rest of this because unless there's a way to just, I don't know, negate the effect that happens on special summon, you're not gonna have this monster on board to do anything with. I don't know why you want to just be, like, destroying and banishing your own monsters. I mean, everything makes sense. like, on the, well, I mean, all of this would, like, be able to properly resolve. There's no ambiguity in any of this. Everything here can resolve, like, everything just follows, like, the confines of the game. Everything just... It follows, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Logic, but at the same time, like, from a sort of game theory state, if you want to, like, win, you don't want to just have, like, play monsters that just basically, like, self-destruct. I mean, like, this is the kind of card you'd probably just print as a joke. Special summon Gillosaurus, tribute for Trishula, watch it explode! Normal summon Karibo, game 2. Gotta set imprint before bringing this guy out, what the fuck? This is just a scrap monster in disguise. This card knows it's an abomination, it just doesn't want to be here. Alright, so next up, Cloudian Drencher, who's a fairy, sure. I think all the Cloudians are like water fairies, so far that checks out. If this card is in your graveyard, you contribute one face-up Cloudian monster, and if you do special summon this card, you can only use this effect of Cloudian Drencher once per turn. If this card is tributed, so far, like, everything makes perfect sense here. So far, this reads like a perfectly normal card. If this card is tributed, you can target one Cloudian world that you control and one Tyrant world your opponent controls. Okay, first things first, like, I'm pretty sure neither of those are real cards, and assuming, like, those were both real cards, what are the odds that your opponent would be playing, like, one very specific card, unless it's actually, like, stable or something? Banish them both, and if you do special summon this card, then if any monster is banished, this card is banished. So once you summon it by the, I guess, the second effect, if any monster gets banished from that point onwards, so is this. I really, like, don't see any sort of practical use for it. I guess unless Tyrant World was, like, theoretically some staple card that most decks would want to be running, but it's not even a real card. Banish them both, and if you do special summon this card, then if any monster is banished, so is this. Everything seemed like perfectly normal up until the second effect. That just doesn't really work. I mean, still, like, I guess it feels like a fair card, just a really underpowered one. Assuming both Cloudian and Tyrant Worlds actually existed. Yeah, assuming they were actually, like, real cards. Sakura, the Wind of Wisdom. A level 6? No, level... What am I saying? Level 6. It's level 8! A level 8 Wind Warrior Ritual. You can ritual summon this card with Endymion's Induction. That's probably not a real... I don't think that's a real card. We'll just have to assume it exists if this card was actually, like, a real card. Like, we would assume, like, of course, the ritual spell to summon it would have been printed also. If this card is ritual summoned, you can draw 2 cards. Nice. So I'm trying to think if there's any way to just break the fact that there's no once per turn on this. Once per phase? Once per phase, so... You can do it in main phase 1, battle phase, main phase 2, like... This doesn't, like, say it's a quick effect or anything, so can you only, like, really do it in the main phase 1 and 2? Like, I don't know. Once per phase. So how would this work if it doesn't say it's a quick effect? How would this work? Is it basically restricted to using the effect in main phase 1 and main phase 2? Once per phase, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, return it to the hand. How would once per phase work, exactly, is what I want to know. There's no mention this is quick effect, so you would typically only be able to use it, like, during a main phase, so basically, like, twice a turn instead of once a turn, assuming, like, it's not the very first turn of the duel. Because very first turn of the duel, there is no main phase 2. But I could be, like, Well, I don't know, like, I really do think you can interpret it either way. But even then, still, like, ritual summoning is a pretty underpowered mechanic. The once per phase bit is just pretty ambiguous. I'll just say if something like this was printed, I'd probably, like, have to just... There probably would be, like, another, like, section added to the rules to explain what the hell, like, once per phase actually means. I'm just gonna assume it's, like, once during your main phase 1 and once during your main phase 2 if you have a main phase 2 that turn. Since there's no mention of that being a quick effect. I want to see if people are arguing in the comments here, like, what once per phase is. New ritual FTK enabler, probably. Tritron Pot of Greed. A non-once per turn draw 2 on summon, but it's a ritual monster, so... I don't know, maybe Drytron could realistically be, like, the only deck I can imagine that could just abuse this. Since they're just insanely good at ritual summoning basically anything, quite frankly. Holy shit, draw 2 on summon? Absolutely broken. Ritual. Never mind. This is not an ignition or quick effect. This is a trigger effect that activates on any phase. But because it is optional, you still declare activation on your whim. We've seen this before, but only for specific phases. This can activate 6 times on either player's turn. Yeah, if you could do this 6 times a turn, then it would be broken. Yeah, someone in the comments is saying you could do that 6 times a turn, and if we go by that logic, I'd say no. If we went by that logic. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can special summon this card, which happens in the standby phase. So that effect doesn't mention, like, quick effect or anything. It just says, like, during, like, a specific phase of the turn, you can activate this effect. Something, something. During the end phase, you can activate Skarm's effect, his second effect anyways. No mention that it's a quick effect either here. Okay, this is a newer card, so it would definitely mention quick effect. At the end of the battle phase, you can apply an effect, even though there's, like, no mention of quick effect. So... I don't know, I'm confused. Once per phase. I don't know, like, just go and ask someone who, like, knows the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Way better than me, and they'll do their best to explain, like, as... I don't know. I guess try and just find someone who knows the game much better than I do to try and explain it. Yeah, assuming you can literally just use the bounce a monster, like, 6 times a turn. That would just be stupid. This one's gonna be quick. Balance. Continuous trap. Each player can only control one face of monster on their side of the field. Okay, that would slow the game down by a lot. So would this work, like, exactly in the same sense, like, as other floodgates like Rivalry and Teekboo? Where, like, if somebody already, like, controls a monster, they can simply not attempt to summon another monster, even if the resulting summon would still cause the player to, like, control only one monster. Like, would it work in the sense of Rivalry, where you can't even attempt to summon, like, another monster of, like, a different type from ones you already control? Even if you'd still only have, like, one type of monster at a time. I'm just gonna assume that's the case, where if you already control a monster, you literally cannot play other monsters. Which would really just, like, slow down the game a lot, and basically, like, any deck that doesn't need to just, like, commit multiple monsters, like, at any given time. And honestly, there are probably very few decks that can just play effectively under this. Eldritch comes to mind. Just play one copy of the Golden Boy and just start beating your opponent down with the Golden Boy. Well, they literally just can't really, like, do much of anything because they're stuck having one monster out at a time. I don't really think we need more floodgates in the game, personally. I don't think we need to, like, introduce more cards to the game just to make it so people can't play. Definitely not the most broken card, but still. Well, not a name with good omens. Oh yeah, this is also a Magic... Well, there is a Magic the Gathering card that actually does exist that's called Balance, and trust me, it's not really balanced. I'll just leave it at that. It's not exactly balanced. Really nightmare, but it's funny. You can achieve the same effect with Teak Boot and Rivalry of Warlords, which are two actually real cards. But this definitely helps, literally just putting it into like one card. I know people mention Kaiser Coliseum, but I mostly mean a card that only wants each player to control one monster. Why do they keep buffing Sky Striker? Mech Knight's Spiritual Ballad. Level 8 Earth Psychic Fusion. One level 5 or higher Mech Knight monster plus one Mech Knight monster. Does this deck even need fusion monsters, though? During the main phase, quick effect, you can target one face-up Psychic-type fusion monster you control. Banish it, and if you do, special summon one Mech Knight monster from your extra deck, except Mech Knight's Spiritual Ballad. When an opponent's monster in the same column, I see, like, where the AI got that from, since this is, like, a Mech Knight card. Yeah, Mech Knights do care about, like, other cards being in their column to activate their effects, so that checks out. When an opponent's monster in the same column activates its effect, you can destroy the monster that activated that effect, and if you do, burn your opponent for 1k. You can only use each effect of Spiritual Ballad once per turn. Yeah, for the first effect, by the way, this card could totally just banish itself as costs. Which, funnily enough, can play around cards like Infinite Impermanence and Skill Drain, since this won't resolve on field. Yeah, unless there's some extremely broken Mech Knight monster just that's bounced around the fact that it's hard to summon from the extra deck. This is fine, unless, I don't know, there's a specific monster that I'm just, like, not even thinking about that would break this. Yeah, the first effect could probably only realistically be, like, as good as the monster that it summons. Oh. Well, would you look at that? An archetype card that actually fits the gimmick of the deck and actually has useful effects. Moondragon Ritual. This card is used to ritual summon Marmoset Moondragon. And just for the sake of... just for the sake of logic, we would have to assume that if this card was a real card, then Marmoset Moondragon would have been printed alongside it as well. Not just gonna print like a ritual spell card and not like the monster that it summons. We would just have to assume that this card and Marmoset would get released together. You must also send Moon God and or Lila monsters from your hand or field to the graveyard whose total levels equal 6 or more. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls. Negate its effects until the end of this turn. Also, Priests and Terrors with 100 attack. Are those like two new monster types that don't actually exist, but the AI thinks they exist? Priests and Terrors with 100 attack cannot activate cards or their effects. You can only activate one Moondragon Ritual per turn. That second effect is weird. So I don't even know what to say. You kind of just lost me on the Priest and Terrors, to be honest. You just lost me. Volcanic King Pyron. Level 4 Fire Pyro monster. Once per turn, you can excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a fire monster, send it to the graveyard. If this card is excavated from the deck and sent to the graveyard, which can happen by the effect of another Volcanic King Pyron, you can target one fire monster in your graveyard. Okay, so once it hits the graveyard, you could theoretically target itself if there's like no other fire monsters to special summon back. If you really want it, you could just summon this, I guess. Special summon it, but destroy it during the end phase. An Xyz monster whose original attribute is fire can be special summoned from your extra deck by attributing one level 5 or higher pyro-type monster you control. But it's gonna just get cheated out of the extra deck with no materials on it. So, if this were to say like water monster or something, then you would be able to cheat out totally awesome. So I don't know about this. You're cheating out an Xyz monster from the extra deck, but more likely than not, like most of them wouldn't be able to like use their effects if they have like 0 Xyz materials on them. Once per turn, you can remove 2 volcanic counters from anywhere on the field. Send 1 volcanic card from your deck to the graveyard. I don't know, I'm confused here. Do I just start looking at like fire attribute Xyz monsters and just see what shows up? Anything good to just cheat out? King Dempsey? Is this card seriously named after Patrick Dempsey or something? Yeah, as you would expect, like most of these just need to have like materials on them to really use their effects, so you're going to be pretty limited with what you can do with these cards. I mean, I guess there's like a few like effects on some of these monsters you can actually just use without materials. Yeah, just seeing if there's anything that really pops out. It's just having a super powerful effect despite like not needing any materials on it. And so far, nothing is really like standing out. This card's banned. Send 1 card from your deck to the graveyard. 2 level 4 monsters. I can see why. I don't know, I think this is okay design, to be honest. Attributing one level 5 or higher pyro type monster you control. I think this is okay. Then again, I maybe spent like 5 seconds maximum looking at each card, so I could be wrong. Okay, first things first, how to read that name. Murephodon, level 3 water dinosaur effect. Your opponent skips their battle phase during the damage step only. Wait, what the fuck? What? Skips their battle phase during the damage step only. This doesn't really, I don't think this makes any sense. I don't even know what the hell I'm reading. Skips the battle phase during the damage, so only the damage step gets skipped? So how does this work? So your opponent skips the battle phase during the damage, so what happens here? Do we just like not do any damage calculation on your opponent's battle phase? Is there like no damage calculation? Like what the hell happens? Wait, is like the damage step where monsters get destroyed? I'm so confused. Joke's on you, Alex. Damage step is no more. As if the damage step wasn't enough of a headache. Negate attack with the stupidest extra steps imaginable. This is the funniest ruling nightmare card. Skip the battle phase during the damage step only, so how exactly does that even function? I don't know. So what happens in the damage step? I know like damage calculation is done. I think like the monsters are also like destroyed in the damage step, so if only the damage step of the opponent's battle phase gets like skipped. Enter the damage step. Effects that apply only during the damage step apply immediately. Cards and effects that activate at the start of the damage step can activate there. So all of this at the start of the damage step, you can play spell, trap cards, and quick effects that can just directly alter the stats of a monster. So before damage calculation, if a face down is being attacked, flip it face up. Okay, so during damage calculation, it's also determined like what monsters are destroyed during the battle. So if your opponent skips like the battle phase during the damage step, so if they skip the damage step of the battle phase, then this would be attacked into. I say, like the opponent skips the like if your opponent's doing their battle phase and then they attack into your Murephodon. So what I think might happen is if they swing into this, during their battle phase, they attack, but the damage calculation is skipped entirely, so nobody takes any damage and no monsters can get destroyed. Sure, they can attack, but will nothing just happen because the damage step part of the battle phase where the monsters are destroyed and the damage is calculated is just skipped outright? So your opponent skips their battle phase during the damage step where like the damage is calculated, the monsters are destroyed, if any. So what you mean to say is this is a really convoluted way of saying that the opponent can't really do anything with their battle phase. They can attack, but just nothing's gonna happen because the damage part of the battle phase is just skipped. So does that just basically mean your opponent can't do their battle phase properly? I have no fucking idea. I could be, like, totally wrong on this. Traffic Courtier. We got a level... No, it's not a level 3. It's a rank 3 Xyz monster we're looking at here. Rank 3 Cyber Xyz. Takes 2 level 3 monsters as a material. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. Once returned during your main phase, you can detach 1 material from this card. This card gains attack and defense equal to the total attack of all face-up monsters on the field. But destroy it during the end phase. This is a quick effect! Oh, so this is a quick effect, like, detach a material and just gain a bunch of attack and defense. That is a quick effect, apparently. Okay. But, yeah, depending on what the board states look like, that is actually baseline guaranteed to be 1800 attack and 1800 attack, and it gains, like, attack and defense equal to the total attack of all face-up monsters on the field. So that is just baseline 3600, 2800 stats if you just attach a material, and this is the only monster on the board. That is baseline, like, 36, 28. But of course, I can just imagine this getting, like, much, much bigger. And any 2 level 3 monsters just being able to, like, should be, like, pretty easy for... It should be, like, pretty easy in general, like, just turbo this thing out. And this thing could just balloon to, like, a ridiculously high attack level. And on a quick effect, I guess, because why not? Yeah, I definitely see this card having, like, plenty of potential to just, like, score OTKs out of nowhere. And 2 level 3 monsters sounds like very little investment for something that could just potentially, like, easily OTK. Yeah, I'm really still thinking if this is fine or not. If you don't play too many monsters, this thing can't get too big, but still. You could just play a bunch of monsters alongside Courtier and still have it just gain a bunch of attack as well. I don't know, it might be a little bit too easy to just, like, OTK out of nowhere with this guy, I think. A quick effect that can only activate during your main phase. Okay, so it's not really a quick effect, is it? This is what they send after you if you're caught breaking traffic laws in the V-Rains universe. More effective than Officer Trudge for certain. A rank 3 Arc Rebellion who can be destroyed by card effects kind of busted, I'm not going to lie. Oh, and I just completely forgot about the part where it can be destroyed by A card effects. A card effects. I don't know why the hell you have to have this random A here. Can't be destroyed by card effects on top of just easily being able to just, like, balloon to a ridiculously high, like, attack points stat. I can just very easily get to a ridiculously high, like, attack. Also guaranteed 3600 damage. As long as nothing goes wrong with the attack. Basically just rank 3 Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon. Shooting Starbow Seal. Equipped monster loses 1000 attack, but it can attack directly. Ah, the perfect equip card for something like this. Literally the perfect card to play along this. Get it up to a stupidly high attack, and then just attack directly, and basically just go for game. you literally attack for game and then it's GG. ABC Dragon Buster, Burst Max, Worm effect. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the extra deck. I wonder where it got that from. I think Dogmatica. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. When your opponent would special summon a monster, you can send one ABC Dragon Buster monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. Negate that special summon, and if you do, destroy that monster. If this card is destroyed by battle, you can special summon any number of dragon monsters from your graveyard. Wow. But it specifically has to be destroyed by battle to get the dragon monsters. But still, if that goes through and... But why is this a worm, though? Randomly a worm, though, for... And we're talking about, like, ABC Dragon Busters, and I assume also the monsters used to... Theoretically, also the monsters used to summon the ABC Dragon Buster, which are machine types. And then this card is talking about summoning dragons from the graveyard. Honestly, not really sure what to make of this, considering it specifically has to be destroyed by battle. And you could just build your deck in such a way that that might, like, simply never happen. Like, your opponent wouldn't be able to, like, have an opportunity to just have this get destroyed in battle. Like, you just pop this with a card effect, like, if you're going second, before you, like, start really doing any attacking. Yeah, I still don't know, though, because if you can actually special summon any number of dragon monsters from your graveyard, there's probably just so many ways to abuse that. Considering dragon monsters get, like, a lot of support. So yeah, I don't know. It might be too powerful, I don't know. Not sure what to say about the Burst Max. Something about a Fluanderee's Link monster. This is already gonna be a mouthful, isn't it? This is already gonna not work. Fluanderee is on a significant scramble. Counter trap. When a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control a Fluanderee's Link monster. The archetype literally just doesn't let you special summon if you use, like, most of their monsters' effects. Like, I think all the level 1 birds, if you activate their effect, like, for the rest of the turn after that point, you can't even special summon anything. You need to special summon Link monsters to get them on the field. Discard your entire hand. Okay, I wouldn't want to do that. Then calculate the results of squaring the attack and effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. And if you do, negate the activation. And if you do that, destroy all cards your opponent controls. Discard your hand, and then calculate the results of squaring the attack and effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. Squaring the effects. I don't know how to square effects, but squaring the attack. So basically, that would just mean, like, you basically multiply, like, the attack of a monster by itself. So, like, let's just say if your opponent has, like, a, I don't know, 500 attack monster, you square it and it's, like, I think 25,000 or something. And let's just say they have, like, a 1,000 attack monster as well. So, I think, like, if the opponent, like, has a 500 attack monster and a 1,000 attack monster and you activate this, you have to calculate the results of squaring the attack of all your opponent's monsters. So, you do 500 squared plus 1,000 squared. So, like, 1 million plus 25,000 or something? And then you add the results, you calculate the results of squaring the attack of all your opponent's monsters, and also squaring the effects. Now that, like, literally, I can't even understand, like, how you would go about that. I can't even picture the logic of how you would go about that. And if you do something that literally makes no sense, then destroy all cards your opponent controls. If you control a Fluanderee's monster in attack position, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Special summon one Fluanderee's Link monster from your graveyard. Here we go again with the Fluanderee's Link monsters. in defense position. Special summon 1 Link monster from your graveyard in defense position, which also just does not work. Link monsters can't even exist in defense position. Literally, like, more than half of what I read so far just does not work. That has twice the attack of that monster in it. What monster in it? 1 Fluandre's Link monster from your graveyard has twice the attack of what monster are we talking about here? Twice the attack of what monster? It just says, like, banish this card from your graveyard. Special summon 1 Fluandre's Link monster from your graveyard in defense position. I'm done here. Let's dissect this real quick. Fluandre's Link monster. Discard your entire hand. Do math for no reason. Nuke the board. Special summon a Link monster in defense position. That specifically has twice as much attack as another 1 card that we don't know what it is. 10 out of 10 card. I just imagine someone grabbing a sledge to smash the table. Okay, you can just calculate it for no reason. Okay, sure. Also, how do you square the effects of your opponent's monsters? I know how to, like, square the attack points. It's literally, let's just say, like, your opponent has, like, a 500 attack monster. It's just 500 times 500, and you've squared the attack of that monster. And then you have to repeat the process for all of your opponent's other monsters. So for, like, every, like, monster, you just square its attack points, and then you just add the results. And then the effects, like, there you just completely lost me. And then once, like, we have to, like, square the effects of the monsters, then that's where I just get completely lost, and then I just don't know what to do anymore. And not to mention, literally, you cannot special summon Link monsters in defense position. Fluandre's is an archetype that literally, for the most part, just locks you out of special summoning outright. It just chains up a shit ton of normal summons. Even on your opponent's turn, mind you. They literally, like, can't really special summon in most cases. Ghost Trick Doll. I think I'll just look at one more at this point. I think I'll have time for, like, one more. Alright, so level 4 Zombie Synchro with entirely generic materials. If this card is Synchro Summon, you can activate one of these effects. Destroy all face-up attack position monsters you control. Special summon 1 Ghost Trick Doll from your extra deck, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Burn for 500, and then just put, like, another, like, level 4 zombie on the field, I guess. This card can attack directly. You can draw 1 card, or you can negate the effects of a monster on the field without targeting it, and then if you do that, you destroy that monster. You have a lot of options here. Well, unless we want to count the first one, because realistically speaking, who's going to want to do the first one? Who would want to do, like, the first option anyways? Unless there's something you really want to get, like, off your field, but usually, like, when your opponent's trying to just put, like, a monster on your field that you probably won't want, it's usually likely just going to lock you out of special summoning in some capacity, which would therefore just prevent you from even, like, being able to play out the game far enough to even get this on the board to be able to, like, destroy the monster you don't want. So I don't know, let's just say, like, your opponent just gave you, like, Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, which says, like, you can't special summon except for Link monsters. You want to get Ibli off the field, obviously, but she would prevent you from even getting to this Ghost Trick Doll in the first place to try to remove the Ibli. You wouldn't even be able to get here in the first place because of, like, the Ibli lock. And then, like, just summon a monster to just basically make for an easy rank 4 play. And burn for 500 if that really matters. You can attack directly for 2,000, you can draw 1 card. You have, like, a lot of options here. Granted, this is all also, like, a hard once per turn, so... Yeah, only, like, 4 effects that are, like, actually worth considering, really, on this card. But still, like, being able to pick from one of 4 effects, now that is just hella flexible. Even if like a lot of the effects aren't like too like terribly impactful, still like having this kind of flexibility is just pretty like damn impressive. Like I guess a generic like level 4 synchro, even though I don't really like picture like too many decks wanting to summon like low level synchros like this, but still. I don't know, it feels like this card wouldn't just be like too unfair. None of the effects are game breaking, but they're all more or less useful. Like what's just crazy is like how many effects this card has stapled to it, and you can just pick one depending on what you need. You know, I was a little bit hesitant, but I think I'd still be like okay with printing the card. I would just be only a little bit hesitant about the fact that there are all these effects, and you can just pick the one that you need most at any given moment in the duel. You have like four if we like if we want to like just not count the one that just destroys all your monsters. If we don't count the one that blows up all your monsters for some reason, we'll just say like 4 like effects that you'll want to use, and you can just pick like whatever one. So I was like, is this fair? I mean, like none of the effects like on their own are like gonna just be game breaking. So I guess just having that flexibility like isn't too big of a deal. And you can't even like pick one of the other effects if you summon like another copy of this somehow. You can't even pick one of the other effects because this is once per turn. Hard once per turn, I meant to say. Alright, so I think I'm just going to like end it here for now. It's been about like an hour and I'm fine with just ending it here, to be honest.